As we talked about during the Pro Show 80K subscriber celebration last week, there's a real reason that Disney might be disliking Netflix and YouTube. It turns out that Disney absolutely devastated their Disney Channel and many of their other opportunities to make money in order to throw everything at Disney+. Today we'll tell you why Netflix in particular is having a good laugh at Mr. Bob Iger. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel. Happy to have you, Yes, you, we're talking to you. Every single person who watches our content is appreciated here. And one thing we can appreciate is that Netflix seems to really be wiping the floor with Disney at this point. I mean, honestly, Disney at one point was supposed to be a contender. This was a company that was supposed to bring Disney Plus into that sort of frame with Netflix. Now, not as big as YouTube, of course. YouTube is the biggest streamer out there, and folks may not want to classify YouTube as such, but it is. But Disney Plus was supposed to contend with Netflix. That has not happened whatsoever. And Disney then bought Hulu to try to make sure that they could be a contender then. Still not happening. Billions of dollars spent, and ultimately, we're watching Disney decline in terms of cultural relevance. Today, we'll explain why and what's going on with Netflix.
Can I talk about the mentality that created this here? Mason Morfitt was one of the many people who came out in support of Bob Iger in the Nelson Peltz proxy fight, and he was supposed to be he's an activist investor. And what is his activist position? Bob's doing a great job, and he should keep doing what he's doing. Very activist, that guy right there. But this is the slide from Mason Morfitt and Value Act talking about how they view Netflix. This is Disney endorsed this and put it up on their website and talked about how great they are. So Walt Disney Company talking about their streaming profits in 2024. All of these companies talking about their streaming profits in 2024, as opposed to Netflix making $10 billion.
They're the underwear gnomes.
Exactly.
So what's this chart mean? That Netflix does not have Pixar, DC, Harry Potter? Is that what this chart says?
Because they're trying to say that there are no tentpole franchises over there on Netflix. I'm sorry, that is
Stranger Things, Cobra Kai.
Yeah, exactly. Cobra Kai, one of the greatest shows of all time.
Never get in the way of logic when you're trying to form a narrative. Never.
Not to mention One Piece recently, and some. Yeah. I mean, they've got tons of them.
Right, and they're over here looking at Netflix as if it's the enemy, as opposed to it's just another delivery platform. So instead of making money selling their content to Netflix, they've said, voila, you know, we need to waste $14 billion to make sure that Netflix doesn't get that money. It's cutting off your nose to spite your face, and then telling everybody, hey, don't I look lovely?
Well, Jonas,
no, they are basically. I'm just gonna say they're basically the underwear gnomes. I made that point for a reason. I've been saying that for a while. They sat there and they looked at Netflix and Hulu and they're like, look at all the money they're making. We need that money. So how do we do this? Okay, we start a streaming service. We don't know. Then we profit.
I don't get it. You see, phase 1, collect underpants. Phase 2?
Yep.
Phase 3, profit. Oh, I get it. No, you don't, fat.
And that's the thing.
It's like I said, it's the recurring revenue that enticed them. Not the amount so much,
right?
But the fact that they got a guaranteed amount of cash every single month. That is completely new to the studios.
Without understanding where it came from, right? That's the question mark.
I agree.
Yeah, see, no, I'm just adding to your point, because that's the whole thing is they looked at Netflix, they're like, look at all the money they're making and look at all the money we're giving them. We need some of that money, without thinking that the whole reason that Netflix was making all this money is because basically they were the new VHS. They were the new DVD. They were the new end-all, be-all, end-all stop where everything went, and everybody had it, right? Like, everybody. So, at that point, Netflix could barely afford to play these studios, as you were pointing out, a consistent income into their coffers for a lot of films that were not making as much money as they used to be, that used to be saved by home video, was now being saved by Netflix. But they didn't stop to think that the reason Netflix was making all this money is because they were paying them, right? It's so silly. It makes absolutely no sense.
As someone who is running a website business with recurring monthly revenue, I'm telling you, it's wonderful.
The funny thing is, a lot of those franchises that they were listing on that, Netflix now has again, because they're now, all these streaming services are forced to sell these properties back to Netflix for streaming. We're seeing so many of them pop up. I'm pretty sure I've seen some Marvel pop up. I've seen some DC. Like
I'm seeing Spider-Man back on Netflix. I'm going
Avatar.
Okay. Yeah.
Last Airbender.
Well, that's because Sony has never left Netflix, right? Like they were the only ones who sat back and said, you know what? We're going to wait till the dust settles, because they were probably the only ones who saw how this was working, because they were earlier to the block with the streaming services on their PlayStation network and all that. And they shut all that down way before all this stuff popped off. They sold Crackle off. They were done. They were out.
Right.
And instead they made a huge deal with Netflix, and now they're the only ones sitting real pretty right now as far as any profits in Hollywood. Movies like Garfield are going to make them a mint.
So the thing that Pro asked me to talk about here is how much money they've spent on these streaming services. And Crackle is obviously a great example of a disaster. Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee was, I believe, a Crackle original before it went over to Netflix. And now people actually watch it because it's on Netflix. And all of these brands, Disney runs their movie division like it's basically a paid for ad service for all of their merchandising and all of their theme parks. So Disney could be forgiven on some level if they were just making the content and trying to do it at least a net zero, if not a little bit of profit, so they can sell it to other people down the line. But so going through this right here, Netflix runs at a profit right now. They take on debt and they pay on that debt. YouTube obviously runs at a profit. Hulu and Disney Plus, it's really easy to say when you start talking about things like, first of all, the cost of Hulu in all of their startup fees. If Disney had left it alone, it would be just no question at this point profitable. Not a question in my mind whatsoever. Disney Plus, not knowing everything that they've spent on that, they are about $14 billion in the hole just on Disney Plus, not counting the purchases that they've made of anything else to put it on Disney Plus, not counting the brand damage that they've had by putting all this garbage on Disney Plus that is so lackluster and so full of just whatever they think they can get past. They would have had to talk to censors and standards and practices. Instead, they put in fill in the blank here on Disney Plus. They purchased Fox for $70 billion specifically to say that it was for streaming. And they've had losses on some of that since then. Obviously, the Hotstar situation was a complete disaster. They still have a streaming service in India, but they've merged with their biggest competitor, otherwise known as exiting the space in shame. They took a $12 billion loss over there in India on that. Forgive me if I'm just throwing all these figures out here. Hulu right now, they've paid at least $8.61 billion for that last 30% of Hulu. Probably going to be another $4 billion, maybe $5 billion to make up the difference there. It's really hard to say how much money they have wasted trying to make Disney Plus work, because in the end, they're going to take the Disney Plus name and slap it on Hulu and pretend like they've been successful the whole time. So with all of these moves that Bob Iger has made, not counting the loss in the stock price, not counting by market capitalization, the $100 billion they've lost there in market capitalization, it's very easy to say that they have spent at least $100 billion trying to make Disney Plus work. And man, if I could just say this, Disney Plus is just total garbage. It is the worst streaming service out there, and it happens to have Disney's catalog content on it. And they lucked out by getting Bluey on there, which accounts for probably 1/3 of all streaming on that platform. The other third being this albatross around their neck of these billions of dollars of content that no one watches. So
well, let's put it in perspective, just so people understand. Bluey, which Disney does not own, which is a preschool cartoon dog show, Bluey has higher viewership than Star Wars and Marvel combined right now. And folks, we've come to the end yet again. We must say goodbye, but right on time, more videos coming your way. And folks, as we get ready to say goodbye, we just also want to say thank you tremendously for your huge support of Vacation Radio. It's our very first original content endeavor. You can find it right here on YouTube by typing in @Vacation Radio. That little @ symbol, yeah, Vacation Radio. Go check it out. We surely would appreciate your support of our free original content. It's a radio station, 24/7, 365. Sunny tunes that lift you up all the time. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.